Unknown. What are you? Is that Clerks?
Yeah, and did you know, man, they just dropped Clerks 3. I'm pretty sure you can go pick it up on Amazon, a couple other, distributing services, this and that, right? But that's not what this is about. This is that quest that is the questionnaire. I am the unknown factor at AKA. I said that AKA of hip hop is what I was about to say, Hardaway. That shows you how crazy and mixed up my brain is in the moment.
You
Whatever.
are the AKA of hip hop.
Man, that works as well, man. But I also am the Wade Wilson of hip hop. Ladies and gentlemen, I got my Zalian brother in the house. Hardaway, how goes it?
It goes pretty well. Like fire.
Fire.
I'm always burning someone or something.
Don't burn any of our guests, bro. That's all that I ask, because they've been phenomenal, and we just continue to go and go and go. If you watch, and look, we're I don't know how many times I drop 2 episodes a week, but I know I've done it a couple times now. I don't know if you're watching this episode directly after Mark's has just aired, or if Mark's aired the second time last week, or what's going on, but I know we've done madness, and I love it. I do absolutely love it, ladies and gentlemen. But to continue that madness, let's bring on a man that, one, he's worked on a different side of the things as him being a letterer, because, over here at the Quest, we like to cover every aspect of that comic and how it's made. But he doesn't do all just that. He does art as well. Not only that, man, he's on a bit of a secret stash, and we like to practice that religion of hip-hop, but we won't get into that any farther, right? But on that secret stash press, we have Andrew Lincoln in the house. How goes it, sir?
It's Andrew Thomas. But
why did I say Lincoln?
Andrew,
you said Andrew Lincoln.
I can totally be Andrew Lincoln and pretend like we're interviewing for The Walking Dead.
I mean, look, we can maybe get to that one at some point on the Quest, but in all sincerity, that's not the interview I was looking forward to at this particular moment.
That's the second time you've done this,
and it has. It's not the first time. Look, I'm terrible with names, Andrew. Don't take it personal. Be happy.
Not at all.
Okay, be happy I remembered your first name. I assure you.
Yeah, well, I mean,
what?
I got 2 first names. It's all good.
He's an ass. That's all it is. We'll just keep it 100.
I mean, if we're gonna keep it 100, as my brother over there says, man, it is definitely true. I'm a bit of an ass, man, but I am honestly just sincerely terrible with names, bro. I'm just bad with them. I really am. Like,
he thought one of our guests was a completely different guest, and they didn't even have the same name.
I did that. Yeah, look, it's been a quest, and when you meet so many other questers, sometimes you're like, you ain't never dicked up anyone's name at a con and flipped somebody for anybody, Andrew.
Yeah, you know what? It's happened a couple of times to me, so it's all good. But again, either way, appreciate you guys having me on. This have some fun.
It's a pleasure, man. And like I said, I'm glad I was able to dig into what I was able to dig into. Orca. I just want to start out there, like right there. We will, and then we'll get to what. Then I'll throw my partner under the bus here in a moment. But in researching that character, bro, that's very intriguing. What made you like? If you want to, I could give a synopsis real quick, or you can. But I'm just curious, what made you take that route? As far as having it to where there was one individual that showed himself to be good, and that's the individual that got blessed. And then everybody else was like, screw y'all.
So basically, I guess the quick origin of Oric is that he was originally designed as a mascot for the Timmins Comic-Con, and he was designed by Mike Ruth. And the whole idea behind the aesthetic was that the Timmins Comic-Con was partnered.
I don't mean to interrupt you real quick. He was designed by Mike Ruth?
That's right, yeah.
Shout out to Mike Ruth. You can check out one of his previous episodes. On a previous episode, I'm not sure what number, but I didn't catch that.
But so he was asked by the Timmins Comic-Con to come up with the mascot for their show, and at the time the show was partnered with the Lions Club, so he went with that route, but with giving this Nordic aesthetic to this character with a lion head, and he has a bow and arrow. So a year later, I met the artist alley coordinator, Davis Dewsbury, and he asked me if I wanted to come up for the show, and I'm like, okay, I've never been up there, so I'm gonna head up. This would be a first time experience for me. So I asked him if we could do something special for the show, like say, can we come up with a superhero, or like we could do a comic or something exclusive for the show. And he says, we already have Auric that was already created. Why don't we just take that character and then do like a 10-page mini comic where we can, give him a little bit of a backstory and tell, we could make a small limited run and do that. So I'm like, okay, cool. And Davis volunteered to write the script himself, and he says, I've dabbled with comic writing, in the past. So so he asked me if I had any objections. I'm like, no. So he comes back with a 10-page treatment, and I really liked what he did. So we did that, and that was 2015 when we launched that very first issue. 200 copies we printed, and it all but sold out that 2-day weekend, which was fantastic.
Nice.
So based on that, and then we got a lot of press, and there was a lot of amazing positive feedback. So we're like, okay, this is a no-brainer. Let's continue the series, and we've done it ever since.
That's phenomenal. Now, Hardaway, you see the bus coming for you?
What?
You see the bus coming for you?
Look, I have no problem with Bus Coon. Me and Bus Coon are friends. Me and Bus Coon kick it on a regular basis. We roll around and we smoke. We
Ask
do
a
all the
question,
good
Hardaway.
things.
I don't know who Bus
Okay,
Coon
look,
is.
question. Hank Pym or Scott Lang?
Who
is the superior?
I think Hank Pym is definitely the most the intelligent of the two, but I really got to give it up to Scott Lang for his charisma, and I think he carries that. If it was a movie just about Hank Pym, I don't know if it was be that interesting, but Scott Lang definitely carries the movie.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I think a Hank Pym film would have been way harder to pull off, especially if you went into that dark side.
Darker.
Yeah, if you went into that dark side,
it would have been far darker.
Yeah, where he's like, beating women and such. I don't know how well that would work in the MCU.
If they had introduced Hank Pym in Age of Ultron, where because in the comics he's the creator of Ultron, I think that could have worked. That could work too. But I'm happy with the way they went.
I'm not necessarily upset about it. Hank Pym's my dude. That's like one of my favorite dudes ever, and because he's flawed, but he still tries, even though he knows he's like a douchebag.
Dude, Hank Pym's a pretty big douche, Hardaway. But I'm curious.
I know, that's why I said, but he at least tries. He's like, look, I recognize that I am a bad guy.
All right, well, Hardaway, hold on. I want to know, bro. So you said you feel like they've really tried in that. I want to know, what do you do when an artist really just don't try and leave you room to put any words on a page? You know what I mean?
It's definitely, that's definitely very frustrating, especially because I've dealt with scripts where they're very, very text heavy. Like there's a lot of dialogue so I try to make it fit as best as I can. Whereas I will kind of maybe break down this one balloon into two, and and try to fit it in other panels, and just as long as it still flows, and then I'll make that suggestion to the editors, or I'm like, hey guys, I can't make this fit. You guys are gonna have to start making some trims here. Try to how do you take the point of what you said but condense it, but still retain the overall idea. So it's tough. I mean, there are ways around it, and sometimes there has to be cuts, because and that really also should be a lesson to those who want to draw comics, is that you have to leave room for the lettering. When you're looking at the script, you're not only looking at the descriptions, but you're also looking at how much is being said, so that will determine the amount of space to give, how big to make that panel.
So let me ask then, man, in that, I'm curious, have you ever had it to where like an artist got you a page and you were like, well, I don't have the words, man, I really like this needs to be redesigned in some format, or and they were just argumentative with you? You ain't got to mention no names, but you got any good stories?
No, actually, I've been pretty good so far. I mean, there have been a couple times I mean, there have been a couple times where the artist would try to argue, saying, "Oh, I designed the page format itself." Sometimes there's a standard. There is a standard guide for the page layout. You have the live area, the trims, the bleeds, and all that. So there was a time where I had a guy. He actually formatted it a little bit wider than it was, and was trying to argue that he followed the guideline. And I showed him. I layered both on top of each other, and I said, "Look, that's clearly not the case, and so I have to adjust it so that way the panels don't go outside." Don't go over the bleed. And so there was a little bit of back and forth there, but overall it hasn't really been that bad. So I'm quite thankful for that so far.
That's dope to hear, man. I'm glad to hear that, as opposed to because you hear all kinds of things, and I just feel like for some reason the people within the comic book community, like, it's more of a, hey, we are trying to create something together, and I feel like there's just a real sense of camaraderie within that, because I mean, there are people out there that do everything as far as they write, letter, ink, and draw and everything their own comic book, but I don't think you see a lot of those. I can't name a comic book that's like, hey, this comic book came from one person and it was uber successful, and now it's a TV show. You know what I mean? It's always where there was a team of people, from a letter to an inker to all of that. So I think maybe you think that helps cause a sense of camaraderie, because I would say all of the biggest examples of success stories in comic books, it's not just one person.
That's true. I mean, mind you, I mean, I'll name drop, but one particular book. But, Jason Lau's Pitiful Human Lizard is one of the most amazing indie comics that came out of the GTA, or in Canada. That I'm as far as for as long as I can remember, there hasn't really been a comic that was well received and well liked by the community. That was done by one guy. Jason Lau did the whole thing.
But what was that? It
was The Pitiful Human Lizard.
Pitiful Human. I'm gonna have to research that.
Yeah, it's a basically Toronto-based superhero, and he went, I think, 21 issues. And it was just beloved by all. It was an amazing book, and he did it all himself. So major props to him. But yeah, I mean, when you're working with the team, there has to be camaraderie. There has to be synergy where everybody should be on the same page. For lack of a better term, everyone's got to check their ego at the door, because if it's a combined effort and we're all working towards one goal, then we want to make sure that we're putting out the best product forward. Because if let's say the artist doesn't give the letterer enough room, and then the writer has to step in and then make some unnecessary trims that he didn't want to, so it's just like, yeah, everyone's got to be on the same page, or else the wheel stops turning, and it's not a good look, because it's a collective effort, so it's reflected by everyone. So
all right, so you name dropped, let me name drop a little, right? Oh, come on, grab it. I should have grabbed this before this damn show started, I'll be real honest. I really should have. The thing I'm about to grab, if I can get a hold of it. Let me see. Oh, I grabbed the right part too, didn't I? Oh no, damn it, it's on the other side. Whatever, it's there, I promise. But let me name drop, right? Do you think that helped Kevin Smith in how he went about creating movies, because he was such a comic book fan? That there was part of him that was about that sense of camaraderie.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I that's a good question. I absolutely, believe 100% that he knows that he it's a collective effort and it's a team effort. And just recently, I saw when he was on. Oh, that's there. Yeah, there it is.
It's actually signed. I don't know if you can see it that well, but that's Kevin's signature that I got when I was like,
oh wow,
16 or something. I've technically.
That's awesome.
I'm a fan, man. I'm a fan of Kevin's. I really am. And there it is again, as well as with Jason Mewes.
Look,
Oh,
right?
fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah,
if I told you how
I'm a
much of a
fan.
fan I am of Kevin Smith,
We're
I
not
would
gonna
have to
hate.
show you
Look,
my illegal substances.
do you want the FB this time on your chest, Hardaway?
It's his fault.
You're gonna get the FB on your chest this time. We did that last, but yeah. But like I said, I'm a sincere fan. Now you've got something where you got to work with him now, man. You got Secret Stash Press going. Firstly, I think it's phenomenal to see. I just found out that Dark Horse is going to be your publisher, or your guys' publisher, Kevin's publisher, in that, which I think is awesome. Check out our last interview with Mark. We get into all kinds of Dark Horse material because he works on a lot of it. Um, what do you think drove Kevin to get to the point where it's like, man, I'm just gonna make comics now? I mean, I know he'd been writing them, but do you know what it was like? What his thought process was when he found when he decided, well, I'm gonna actually, start publishing them myself. Well, I mean, through Dark Horse, anyways.
I mean,
And what was it like when he contacted you?
So your first question, I think, well, Kevin's been a fan of comics for forever, and I think that it was a no-brainer that he's done it in the past and he wanted to continue, and Dark Horse just gave him the leeway or the free range to create whatever he wanted. So because I think that his love for writing and his love for comics, and I think it just works well together. He writes great movies, and I think he writes good comics as well. But I think it's just the fact that now he has this opportunity, or has this free range by Dark Horse to create the comics that he wants. I think just allows him to experiment a bit more, to get more, to reach beyond. And so the first book he did was an original book called Masquerade, which features a social media influencer that Moonslight is a murderous, rampaging lunatic. Like it's a lot of fun. And then the second book is called Quick Stops, which is takes place in his View Askew universe, and they feature and it features side characters that that may have not been focused too much, in the movies, or characters that have never met in the movies that he always wanted to, he always wanted them to meet. And so I think it gives him the ability to tell more stories that he wants to, but with the convenience and the cost efficiency of comics, as opposed to, go out making a movie.
Yeah,
So I think it has to do with money, and I think it's a cost effective way. But but yeah, and then when I got asked to do it, I actually met him in person in Calgary, and we had a bit of a correspondence before. So he kind of knew who I was before that. So when I finally met him in person in Calgary, he asks me, he's like, "Wait, is that what you do for a living? You letter books?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's pretty much my main bread and butter." And he goes, "Well, we have we have a new imprint with Dark Horse, and we're doing new comics. Do you want to come on board and letter those comics for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." I mean, I'm not going to say no. So I was on cloud nine for a while, because it was just like, holy crap, he asked me to work on a book with him, so I'm going to be working with Kevin Smith. And then the whole process has been fantastic, because instead of I'll submit a draft, for one of the books, and then usually it's the editors that will kind of get back to me with feedback and notes and whatnot. But in this case, Kevin contacts me directly, and he gives me his notes. So he wants, and he told me, he's like, "You gotta understand, I'm very particular with dialogue," and I'm like, "Yeah, I've noticed." And he's like, "I'd rather do this myself." And I'm like, "No, I totally get it." So I get to tell people that I've been directed by Kevin Smith. So it's been
look, that's dope. And it's funny, because that's one of the things I was going to bring up, is just as someone that's been a fan of Kevin Smith, like, I remember Clerks, like, everything. It's most of his stuff is very dialogue heavy, which I think for how he does it, it's excellent. And like, he's great at writing dialogue. He's great at writing witty dialogue that goes all over the place. especially that touches on like nerd culture, which is greater than it's ever been. So yeah, I was curious, man, because I assume these comics are a little wordy. I mean, I don't think that I doubt they're like Watchmen wordy, but you know, I'd assume there's a lot of back and forth in it.
There is, you know what? There's, I mean, that may be the case a while ago when he was, I think when he was doing like the his Daredevil run or even Batman. Like, I mean, that may have been the case, but now actually with these new comics, Masquerade and Quick Stops, it's not. It's, I mean, there is quite a bit of dialogue, but it's not as heavy, and the book still does flow. So you, especially in the case of Masquerade, there's still some great action scenes that, you know, that are allowed to I guess shine, for lack of a better word, but like he lets the action speak for itself, and then when he has to, you know, drop some I forgot, the word escapes me, but when he needs to go back and he needs to explain or he has to add exposition, that's the word.
Exposition, there you go.
Yeah, when he then he'll, you know, he'll drop it in, but no, it's a fantastic book.
Kevin Smith, if you watch, hold on, Kevin Smith, if you are watching this, your homie just said that you have evolved. How does it feel to be a Pokemon?
Well, to that end, though, that's not exactly what I meant as far as just exposition. I meant as far as like clever lines. You know what I mean? Like because he was always known, in my opinion, anyways, for writing witty dialogue. And then I might catch a little hate for this, but I'll be real honest. His Daredevil is probably some of my favorite Daredevil. Period. I'm not trying to just get him on the show, bro. You're more than welcome to come on the show, Kevin, if you're watching this. But I mean, it just sincerely was like I like the way the man writes. You know what I mean? But especially in the like quick shops, I would assume it would be more like back and forth to it from a comical aspect. You know what I mean?
It is, and then that's definitely the case. If you are, I mean, it really does seem like back to basics. It's when you read Quick Stops, it's classic Kevin Smith. I think that's, if you love Clerks and if you love his movies and stuff like that, I think it's best back to basics, and you're going to come to expect a lot of. You're going to definitely pick up a lot of familiar that familiar back and forth banter, because that's basically what it is. These books are about the characters and their back and forth. So it is very much.
I gotta know, man. Can you tell us any characters like that come across one another that never have, that it's not public yet?
Oh, I mean, that's a good question. Well, I can tell you because well, in issue 2, and this is public already. Mainly, it's been solicited. It's in previews, like you can order it. But in issue 2, the issue is about Randall and Brody. So what many people don't know is that Randall and Brody are actually cousins. So Randall and Brody get together and they go to Walt's funeral, their cousin Walt's funeral. And if you know who Cousin Walt is, they mention it in the original Clerks. He dies by performing a sexual act upon himself.
You can say it, dude.
Oh yeah.
He was trying to blow himself and he was successful. He just killed himself in being successful. It's okay. But yeah, that's dude, what a story to like. Yeah.
We've all tried it.
Speak for yourself, Hardaway. Whatever. No, maybe I just always realized I had too much of a gut and it was never obtainable anyways, so it never crossed my mind. I don't know. But no, I never tried it. I don't know. Maybe you got to be really thin to have that thought in your head. We're not going to go any farther into that concept. All right? We're really not. We're going to... Hardaway, ask something totally different.
Okay. With this new imprint of Kevin Smith and whatnot, if is he trying to get aspiring artists and writers, or is he trying to get people who have already set themselves apart from the world?
I think it's a bit of both. Kevin, he went out publicly and said that not only is it an imprint for him to tell his stories, but he also wants his friends and he wants people to come on board and tell their stories too. So it's an open forum, I guess, not a forum, but it's an open invitation to for people who want to tell unique stories. That he has the right imprint for them.
So,
but it also.
Oh, well, I'm just curious. Is he accepting submissions from people as far as like pitches then?
At least at the moment, I don't think so.
Okay,
I think it's
yeah.
based on just like if he has people or he knows people that want to publish, or I think it's
okay.
It's kind of like who he knows. But he's also giving other like more unknown artists, writers a chance to shine, because in the terms of quick stops, every single issue is drawn by a different artist. So nice. Yeah, so he's definitely putting the spotlight on those particular artists, and I guess try to give them more awareness, more exposure, for a lack of a better term. But so yeah, I think it's a bit of both.
All right.
That's dope. That's dope. I want to know.
I got another question.
Go ahead, Hardaway.
My next question is do you like anime and manga?
I like some. There's one. Yeah.
Bro, did you not read his questionnaire? I'm gonna kick your ass, Hardaway.
Hold on. Well, actually, there's a problem with that. Is because my daughter had everything that I own, and I couldn't touch nothing.
Well, whatever then. Hold on with that question, because I do find it very odd that you answered cartoons and then said your favorite was Dragon Ball Z. Are you a contradiction, sir? What was that?
Yeah.
So I guess I suppose that's that those two, to me, those are two separate questions, because if I were to choose between cartoon and anime, I like cartoons better, but there's one specific anime that I do like, which is Dragon Ball, and that was something I grew up on. So like that's basically, and to me, I mean, I guess as a kid I didn't really understand the distinction, so it was a cartoon to me.
Fair enough.
Okay.
It was when watching it on YTV or and all that, so it was a cartoon to me.
Well, just so you know, I want to blow your mind real quick. To Japanese people, Bugs Bunny is anime.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
All right, and the reason is because anime just means animation.
Okay.
So everything that is drawn or 3D animated is considered an anime to them. They will call it an anime.
So all I have to say is that means
that makes sense.
Yeah, Rick and Morty is an anime. That's really funny.
Yes.
If you're in Japan. That's kind of hilarious. So
that's yeah.
So because if you think about it, when you look at anime and the different styles that they have, you can look at cartoons and go, well, look at all the styles we have. It's literally the same.
True.
We have extraordinarily detailed cartoons. For instance, any of the DC animated movies, those are cartoons, but they are detailed. Like, woo!
That's a valid point, Hardaway. But man, I want to know. But no, I just want to know. I just want to know why my man Andrew's hating on the Hulk so much. Right, from a young age till now, that's still your most favorite character.
I don't know. I never really cared for the Hulk. I don't find the Hulk a fascinating character. Like, yeah, he gets angry, he goes green, and he smashes things. And yes, I know there's more to it, but like, I don't know. I think there are more interesting characters out there, and
I mean, I'll give you that there are far more interesting characters, but then there's your favorite character now, who is the most psychotic superhero that is mainstream, because Batman is a lunatic.
He definitely is.
Oh my!
I'm not gonna. I won't disagree with you there. That you're
okay.
No. I would say no sane person would go. Would do what he does. Like that's.
I'm so glad.
He goes to extremely.
Yeah, there have been a couple people that have answered Batman. We've had conversations on Batman on several different levels with several different creators over here at the Questionnaire. Adriel Mendel has the best Batman story. ever that's probably never going to get published that would actually probably make me pick up a Batman comic. But that's the one thing that no one has disagreed on is, yeah, no, Batman's a psycho.
Yeah.
Which makes me think, man, don't you think maybe he might be the real problem in Gotham?
Oh my God.
I'm sure that's been debated, quite extensively.
I
But
want to hear your
I
opinion
don't
of it,
I
though,
don't know what
Andrew.
it's
your
just
favorite
it's
character.
I love the psychology of Batman. Like the whole Batman franchise is rooted in psychology. His rogues gallery in some point also has to do with psychology. Like and it's just fascinating to really dive in and wonder what makes a man tick and what separates him from the rogues gallery. And then you have, and then recently with the whole, the metal and death metal books that were written by Scott Snyder, and he introduces new versions of Batman from, the evil Batman. This is the version of Batman that would, actually did snap and didn't stick to his morals. And then there's the Batman who laughs, who I think is a very fascinating character too. So it's, it's layered and my love for Batman is layered, and I have a huge appreciation for the many writers who could take that character and do something different and interesting with them. Like and you can definitely see as the decades have go on and how the character has evolved. I mean, you can't help but not love Batman. I don't know. That's for me.
I am
I love
personally,
Batman. He's my favorite.
whatever.
He's one of my favorites.
Y'all can find my personal opinion on Batman on a past episode. I've said it somewhere. I'm not going to say it again. If you want to hear it after the show, Andrew, we can. There's no point to me getting into it in this episode. Why be using a fork eating Chinese, man? That's disrespect.
Because it's easier. I'm
disrespect.
I'm of a mind that eating food should not be a challenge, and that we should get right to the point. So that's why I hate food with bones in it too. And it's just
do you love African food then?
I mean, I'll be honest. I can't remember the last time I ate African food. So, but I mean, I don't think I would, but yeah, I think I think food has to be accessible, and don't make me, bend over and use, a bunch of different tools just to
all right, fine.
I think he would love African food because it's literally you just grab this like most dishes. There's this like dough that's like a bread.
Yeah.
And you just rip that off, and then you use that to grab your food, and it.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no accessible.
Real.
Yeah, I just want to get on the note of accessible, man. Right. You lettered a great number of things, right, from a great number of people. Now you're literally lettering for Kevin Smith. Is there a writer out there that you're like, man, I want to put his words on a page in a way?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a huge fan. Like I mentioned before, Scott Snyder. He's one of my favorite writers. He's fantastic. But actually it's funny. One of my comic idols, that I have adored, for years is, Rob Guillory, who was the artist on Chew for Image, and then he went on to do a book called Farmhand, which was also his. He wrote and drew it. So now he's doing a series for Boom called Mosley, where he's just writing it. So he's making the jump from just artist to just writer, and he asked me to come aboard. So I'm actually getting to work with someone that I admire, and
nice.
And I'll be working with him. So yeah, Rob Guillory was definitely, he's absolutely, he's a writer. I think that qualifies, and it's going to be an absolute blast working with him.
Hell yeah, that's
what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah, that's dope to hear.
What's on your glass?
Oh, it's a Star Trek glass. That's Spock.
Okay,
I love
so
it.
you represent hard.
That's a great actor, Leonard Nimoy. I love. We've never had that as a choice as favorite actor, as far as I can remember. I don't even know what episode number we're at now. So, but I'm pretty damn positive nobody's answered Leonard Nimoy. But, um, really, dude, the fourth one with the whales.
Yeah.
Out of all the Star Trek films, you picked the
It's
one with the whales. I need an explanation, sir.
I don't know. I mean, Star Trek, is rooted deep into my childhood. So I don't know. Just watching that one, it's because it's so different from the rest, and it's very. Even though there is I would say a crisis. There is a crisis happening in the movie. It's still very much a lighthearted film, and it's just an adventure film to try to go save the world. And then there's probably the most humor in a Star Trek movie than there is in the other film. And it was, I don't know, it's just the fact that also you're also seeing it's a fish out of water situation with because they're in the past. So getting seeing them interact with how they interact with the past elements and people stepping out of their comfort zone, Spock, needing to learn how to use curse words, kind of thing. So, it's just you have this this knowledge of these characters, and then you put them in a situation where in a completely unique situation, and then just kind of see how they deal with it. I think that's what makes it such a great film, and like I said, it's lighthearted, it's funny, it has an amazing score. So it's just like I think people will typically go and say Wrath of Khan, but I think number 4 takes it.
It's just when I read that answer, I was like, really? 4? Because I mean, I know people that are Star Trek fans, and I can't ever think of somebody being like, "Man, you got to watch Star Trek 4." You know what I mean? Like it really, it just kind of it threw me off a little. I was like, "Huh, that's interesting." But damn, if you didn't give a pretty legitimate answer, you also gave a pretty legitimate answer. And yeah, man, Wolverine Origins was horrible.
Yeah.
I don't know how we hadn't gotten that answer yet. I mean, I know there's some comic book films out there that were very bad adaptations, but I do think that one stands out as one of the worst, and you can obviously tell because of what they did with Deadpool in that film, and
Yeah.
then what they've done with Deadpool in the other films. They obviously screwed that character up righteously, and they even had the actor to do it properly. This can all be told because you can look back and it's shown. But to that note, man, I'm
Look,
curious what your opinion
there's
is.
a lot of coke and crack that was being passed between the people that made that, the people that were writing it. I don't care who wrote it, because
Hey,
if you thought that was a good idea, that was a bad one.
whatever, man. Look, I'm just glad we finally get to see Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds suit up and hopefully slice one another to pieces. It's gonna be
Oh, I'm
phenomenal.
so looking
Oh,
forward
yeah.
to that.
Yeah. But I'm curious, man, what's your thoughts as far as, I mean, you've been a comic book fan obviously for since you were a young child. Well, what is it like to see that? And I mean, it was stigmatized very much. To now, you'll be walking around with like that Ant-Man shirt and be like, "Oh, I love Ant-Man," but they don't really know Ant-Man. You know what I mean? Like
Outside, yeah,
like outside of the MCU, like people like, and like I said, this is a discussion we've had several times too. It's gotten to the point where comics are getting optioned and they're being made into films. People will enjoy the film. They're not even aware of the fact that the source material is the comic. So I'm just
yeah.
curious, what's your overall opinion of the effects of all of that it's had on the comic book industry and the film industry, like both respectively to one another?
It's a good question because I mean, in the long run, I think that comics being optioned into film is ultimately, I think, if the story is good, then it should be. I think there's an argument that it should be adapted and try to make a series or a film out of it. I mean, it's been tried and true. Like there have been great adaptations, and there have been pretty shitty adaptations too. But I think what the MCU did was really put, the idea of, or remove the stigma of comics, because now that it's become so mainstream, in the pop culture, everyone's like, oh yeah, this is cool, and all these characters are cool. It's modern mythology, really, if you think about it. These characters are all, like Stan Lee, I would say, is one of the greatest creators of all time, because he created this modern mythology of superheroes, and and like 100, 200 years from now, people will kind of revere these characters the same way they revere like ancient, Norse mythology or Greek mythology. The way we perceive mythology now is kind of like what these characters will stand the test of time, uh, you know, down the road. But I think it's pretty cool that the stigma has been removed, and it's no longer, I don't know the word to describe it, but it's just like, you as a kid, you'd be teased for enjoying a comic book or enjoying these things. You'd be labeled as a nerd, and nerds were not cool, but now nerds are cool. So
Well,
I think it's done. But on the flip side of that coin, I think that, especially in the case of superhero movies, I think we are getting a little too oversaturated, and I think that the MCU is, I would say, eating its own tail, because it's doing good, but at the same time, I think it's just oversaturating the market. Where now, people, when people think of Hollywood films, they only think of these MCU movies or these blockbusters, and don't actually enjoy, actual films, like an actual, I would say, I guess going back to Kevin Smith, like, people will watch these movies and then not appreciate a movie like Clerks.
look,
Where
I still need to watch Clerks 3. I can't lie. It's on my agenda, but look, I still need to watch the whole Sandman adaptation too. And like, I I've got a list of things that just continues to grow. It doesn't ever get shorter because I don't have the time to
oh,
watch
it's
anything.
no, it's true, and I also am of the mind that too much choice is actually not a good thing, and it's just, I can't tell you that the times where I'm like, constantly scrolling through multiple platforms, and I don't want to watch anything. Nothing stands out. It's just like there's too much, and I can't zero in on anything, and it kind of frustrates me, and it frustrates my wife too, because she's like, just pick something. I'm like, but I don't want to watch that or
Then
watch
why?
that or.
But then why do you want to
You know what I get
multiply
told?
items?
I get what?
I said, why do you want to multiply items if you think too much choice is a bad thing?
Because I mean, well, because that
You just
I
want
think
to you just want $100 bill and just be able to walk up to it and be like, more, don't you? Don't lie.
I mean, it depends on what you're multiplying, because
Like money. I get you,
I
Andrew.
mean, yeah.
Hey, after this interview, I got something to say about your little multiplying power that's fucking goofy. All right. And just to get deeper into it, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm curious about the depths of it, but it's not appropriate.
I mean, if you with an ability to multiply things, I mean, you can eliminate a lot of the world's problems, like poverty, or you can eliminate hunger. There's things you can do with that. I mean, multiplying entertainment for the sake of having more entertainment, I don't think that's not a smart use of the power. I think
Agreed.
there's an abundance of entertainment, but there are more pressing issues in the world.
Well, as far as what you were
Yeah, but
saying,
that'll take you a week to fix those pressing issues, and then you'll be sitting there going like this. Well, what do I multiply now?
Well, I don't know.
and then the shit that you can do, like, man, what if you can multiply the amount of stupid shit that comes out of people's mouths? So, like, someone just sits there and says something like completely ridiculous in front of you, and you're just like, yeah, I want more of that.
You just made that way too terrifying, Hardaway. I gotta flip this back. Look, so you were saying you feel like the MCU is oversaturating the market, and you also said like that you feel like there's a stigma of comics that have been removed, right? I agree and disagree with that statement, Andrew. I agree in the capacity that, like, the general public, it's like, oh, comics are cool. But why is it, do you think, that they're still not accepted as legitimate pieces of literature? Especially, I mean, looking at Alan Moore's work, looking at, um, I'm gonna say Garth Ennis, even though it's excessively vulgar, but there's books that are excessively vulgar that are considered great pieces of literature. You know what I mean? I can't think of any other names off the top of my head, which is kind of annoying the crap out
Neil
of me.
Gaiman.
Yeah, Neil Gaiman is another great example. Like, why do you think that they're funny books? And dude, I guarantee I've read some books there ain't nothing funny about unless you got a real dark
Yeah,
sister.
I think that conversation, that scale is shifting, because I'm seeing actually more arguments, advocating that comics and graphic novels are absolutely literature, and I don't think just because a prose novel, that of just text, is more important, in its message than, say, a graphic novel, if it has the same, like, for example, you have a book, I don't know, let's just say, for example, the Lord of the Rings, fantastic book, but then if it gets adapted into a graphic novel, is that medium, or is that medium worth less than the book itself? I mean, if it has the same, if it's telling the same story, it has the same message, then, is the, can you still argue that that form, that medium, has less value?
And they've done that in several cases. As far as I'm pretty sure, the Lord of the Rings is something they've turned into a comic, is it not?
It's true. Yeah, I actually do have it on my shelf. They did the
I know they've done that. The Stand. Like, there's several things that are considered classic literary novels that they've converted into comic books. So yeah, that's
The
about as
Stand is
valid a
one of
point you
them.
could make. What'd you say,
I
Hardaway?
said The Stand is one of them.
Yeah.
The Stand.
Oh, yes.
So yeah,
I
I
have
did.
most of that, actually.
Yeah. And then, for example, in the case of The Sandman, you can also listen to The Sandman as an audiobook. So now are they saying that, now that it's an audiobook, is that worth more because it's just pure, there's no visual? Like, is the inclusion of the visual medium making that more I would say,
I have it. It is to most people, because who actually reads picture books as a medium to learn anything? Children. More so than anything, it is children. You go look at your child's show. You're not going to see word books. You're going to see a bunch of picture books with a few words to help the parent tell the story along. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, that is why it is stigmatized here in Western culture, because in Eastern culture it is not the case. Comics and manga is pretty much the same thing, and then you will see grown businessmen that make 6 to 7 figures a year, easy. You know what I'm saying? Reading a comic book on the subway. All
I'll
right.
give you, Hardaway.
So
That's a valid point, bro. As far as I never thought of it like that. That it is a children thing. But look, like, if you put Swingers or Crossed into your kid's hand, you ain't a good parent. You know what I mean, Andrew?
well, no, then it becomes, yeah, absolutely. It's I had a thought and I lost it, but no,
That
you're
happens a lot
absolutely
over
right.
here. It's
You're
understandable.
absolutely right that now it becomes the responsibility of the parents to make sure that your kids are reading the right thing, because comics are now, they have the demographic is ever growing, and then there's graphic novels and comics for any age range, right? So no, of course you wouldn't give those kind of books to the kids, but but there is something for them.
But can I
there
say?
is.
Oh no, well, to that ilk, I think it's funny, man. And shout out to Dave over at Comic Book University. That's a comic book shop that I personally go to. I go to the Secret Stash, man, but it's really far from Indiana. Okay, tell Devin I'm sorry. I really actually do. It's like that's on my
That's pretty
bucket
far.
list for real to get to that shop at some point in my life. It really is. But that's like, you've had people come up, like 10-year-olds come up with like the books I've just named, trying to get them, and the parent, or like The Boys or something like that, because they've seen the TV show, and the parents will okay it. right? I don't get that. I wonder if that's maybe a problem. Or well, the parents will okay it until Dave is like, "Hey, you should look through this real quick," and he'll show them a couple pages because he knows the comic, and they're like, "Oh no, you can't get that," you know. Do you think that's a problem though? As far as like initially, like comic books were just more for kids. You know what I mean? Back in the day, they weren't so much aimed at adults as like in the 80s and 90s. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it was like once you got over 20, they're just those stories weren't as relatable as opposed to now you can find stories on anything. Like I said, I mean, I could sit here
Yeah.
and list a I don't know how many books because 80 get released every damn week. So I'm not going into that list any more than I already have. I'll add Saga to it just for shits and giggles, though. You know, um, do you think maybe that's caused a problem where parents worry that if they send their kid into a comic book store, oh my God, what will they come out with?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it ultimately the responsibility does have to fall on the parents because the parents need to be doing their research and they should understand. I mean, comics do have a rating on them, and so I mean they should be kind of looking into what the kids are interested in and if it's appropriate. I'll use my kids for as an example. So I mean, like they definitely are interested in reading and when they look at something or interested in or even movies, I mean I'll kind of explain to them, it's like, nah, you're not quite ready for that yet, or you're okay, yeah, this is okay. Or if for example, to go even further, my 10-year-old really loves Wolverine and really wants to start reading it. And there's a plethora of books that he can read about Wolverine. But then there are some that I think are a little too mature for him, a little too much. So I'm like, okay, you can start with these ones. This is good for you. When you're a little bit older, then you can read these ones. And I think ultimately I think just got to be careful with what they're with and then also too, like if you're blindly sending your kid into a comic book store to pick out a book, and then also the shop owner hopefully would kind of like look at the book that this kid is picking up and say, hey, maybe this isn't for you, maybe we'll try something else. Hey, where's your parent, why are you here by yourself, you know? So yeah, I think it's accessible, but yeah, you got to be careful, and I think parents just need to look out a little bit better. And
See, and that's like, man, I'm gonna get in trouble
They
here.
do.
Whatever, huh?
Hey, then you don't get in trouble. I will then. All
All
right.
right.
So I really think it's because most parents aren't truly involved in their children's lives, besides the bare minimum of giving them a roof over their head and food on their plate. Besides that, they really don't care. The kid can come up to them, show them a drawing, and they're just like, "No, that's nice," or they're like, "I'm sorry, honey, I'm busy," and whatnot. We see it time and time again. Let's just be 100 people. All right, but the reason, so that's how these kids are getting these really adult comics. That's how they get access to them and whatnot, is because they don't care. And I'm gonna be 100. If you're a business owner and you're allowing these children to get that, that's morality crappy and whatnot. It is, but here's the thing: it's not your place.
Hey, but
You know
no,
what I'm
look,
saying?
that's why. No.
Hold on,
See,
it really
say
isn't your place,
this to
because
what you just
if the
said, Hardaway.
parents don't care, if
No,
the parents
Hardaway.
don't
You
care,
wouldn't.
it's
No,
society standards. You know what I'm saying?
bro, you
Oh,
ain't gonna sell a child at young age an explicit CD or an R-rated film. It is the
you shouldn't.
same.
You
It
shouldn't.
is
I'm not saying you should.
okay. So that's
All
my
right.
point.
Illegally,
Like
you
Andrew
can't.
said,
Illegally, you can't. All
an
right.
R-rated. You can't
Legally,
sell
you're
an
not
R-rated
supposed
film to
to,
someone.
unless the parent says it's okay.
All
That's
right.
the
Well,
kicker.
yeah, but that's
That's
my
the
point.
kicker. All right.
That's my
So if the
point, man. That's
parent
why
says
there
it's
are ratings.
okay, it's parental advisory. It doesn't say ban to certain ages. It says parental
Ours.
advisory
Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Andrew. Ours restricted unless you're 17 or older, right?
for movies.
I think it's different because here in Canada, I think the rating is a little bit different, but we go PG-13 right to R. So
Yeah,
and then
same.
I think that's the highest in Canada.
Well, I
I
mean,
could be
unless you want
wrong,
to
but I
get
don't
into
know.
X.
Yeah, and then I think there's R and then there's NC-17 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is NC-17. But no, the thing is that's what it's advised to watch this and whatnot. That rated R restricted is in public. They cannot go in public to the movie theater and watch it and sit right down next to you. All right.
All right, wait. I gotta, Andrew. I need you to clarify
Let's
something. Look. When I was young, I remember going and trying to buy films and being told I couldn't buy it because it was R-rated when I was 13. Does anybody else remember that, or am I just crazy?
No, I do too. Unless my mom was there saying it's okay.
Well, yeah, but that's the parents' discretion.
And that's that's what I said.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm saying as far as the comic book rating. Like that's why you shouldn't.
That's what I said.
Like the owner of the comic book store should at least be cognitive of that, to where they're dealing with the customers, especially the customers' kids, to where they're not, selling a 13-year-old swingers, because phenomenal comic. If but it's very, very adult oriented and not superhero at all. It's on some whole other shit. But I mean, it's very sexual too. It's the term swingers for a reason, and it's
for
sexual.
Adults.
Yeah,
it's for adults. It's for grown
very much.
People.
So I just appreciate them having
teenager needs to be watching it. They be sitting there having them doing some bad things. You be wondering why little Susie knows things that she ain't talking about shit she don't need to be talking about. All right, look, that's the whole thing though. Most parents in Western society just don't care.
All right. Well, you know what? I'll be real honest. You know what this isn't? This isn't a let's teach you how to be a better parent show. There's enough books for it. If you want to be a better parent, do me a favor, go read. And then when you realize how to do it, pick some good comics for your kid to read. You know what I mean? Some good comics that are of suitable age, and not like
Transformers, yo.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's, like I said, there's plenty, but there's even some Dark Transformers stuff, actually, Hardaway, members. So probably you want to wait until they're at least 12 or 13, right? Have you ever come across the comic, man, where you were lettering it, where you're like, I don't want to letter what I was just told to letter, because that's atrocious?
Thankfully, no. I haven't really come across anything like that. So far, so far everything's been good. I don't think I've ever had to put my foot down or refuse something because I disagreed with their views or something that's particularly said. So that being said, would I do that if that were to come across my desk? Then perhaps. I mean, if it's something that that I'm fundamentally against or morally against, then I'm saying, hey, this, I'll voice an opinion. I'm not going to say, hey, I won't do this. And it's like, hey, maybe this might come across or give off the wrong idea, or this will be interpreted, incorrectly. What if we did? Like, I'll offer suggestions before I just flat out refuse, is my point. But thankfully, no, I haven't had gone to that yet.
You ever read a comic book where you're like, I don't know if I would have lettered that?
I don't think I've ever, like, I mean, I've read some pretty gnarly stuff but I don't no, but it's never come across my mind. It's like, whoa, like I don't think I've ever put those two together. Like I've read that and I'm like, well, that's a hot take, or that's a radical way of thinking, and it's like, would I do that? And just like, I don't think I've ever put myself in that letter's shoes.
Fair enough. I was just curious. Yeah. Hardaway, you got another question?
Yes. The greatest question of them all. What do you think your favorite character's favorite candy bar is?
Well, that would be Spider-Man, Hardaway. You having the questionnaire horse shit. I swear on my life. That's his favorite curse word, by the way. Yeah, some horse shit Hardaway don't have and looked at the questionnaire. That's what that is. It's horse shit, Hardaway.
It ain't even about that, because the questionnaire doesn't have what's your favorite character's favorite candy bar.
No, but at least you would have been able to ask what's Spider-Man's favorite candy bar, your favorite character, as opposed to leaving it open-ended to where people didn't know who he was talking about if he just said the candy bar. Proceed, Andrew. Answer that question. I was just filling in the gap he left.
So, I mean, if it's Spider-Man, I don't know. I think Spider-Man would enjoy a nice Snickers. If it was Batman,
oh wait, yeah, my bad. I went for youngest, and then whatever.
all
I don't
good,
care
but
what. I don't.
I
You know
think
what?
if it was Batman, I think he'd.
I don't care. I don't care what Batman's. He's a psychopath. It's probably.
Oh,
It's
shut up.
probably
You
like.
like
It's probably like
Deadpool,
a
who kills
damn
actual
those
innocent
caramel.
people.
Those little wrapped caramel old.
You know, let's put it this way. Yeah, he likes a challenge, so that's why he likes Score.
What's that?
Oh, so I guess that must be a Canadian thing. So Score is it's a thin it's a thin bar of chocolate covered, like it's how do you, so it's I would say it's a thin strip of hard caramel, like hard caramel with a layer of chocolate. So you actually have to really bite into it. It's very crunchy.
All right.
So yeah,
that sounds tasty.
It is. No, it's really good. It's more caramel than it is chocolate, but the fact that it's hard, you know, it's hard as a rock, and you really got to bite into it. So I think he likes a challenge, and I think he likes the taste. So you know, that's my that's
well,
my
you know
answer.
what my opinion is Batman don't score enough, because I think if he scored more, maybe he wouldn't be as psychotic as he is. It was a pleasure
That
to
man
score
gets
you.
you shush.
What? No, look,
Batman
whatever.
get
Look,
laid.
hey, Hardaway, don't fuck up my outro. Damn it. Right? It was a pleasure to score you over here as another member of our quest, though, Andrew. It truly has been, bro. Right? I look forward to when it comes out in graphic novel form, because I don't have room for comics, man. I don't. I can't. I got old, and I can't even get comic book issues anymore. I just have to do the graphic novels.
I'm with you there. I don't have the room for singles anymore, so it's all trade paperback for me.
Yeah, it's old man in me, but I'll definitely be picking up a couple things from the Secret Stash imprint, man. And again, shout out to you for coming on. Before we cut out, can I get you to go, yo, this is Andrew Thomas. I'm not going to say Lincoln that time. And this is Andrew Thomas.
Both. That show would be hilarious.
That would be kind of fun. Make sure you're checking out the questionnaire every Wednesday at 7. And then whatever you want to add, man, as far as anything you're doing, it's all on you.
Sounds good. Hey, this is Andrew Thomas, and don't forget to check out the questionnaire every Wednesday at 7. And don't forget to pick up Quick Stop's #1 from Secret Stash Press on sale November 2nd.
Hell yeah. Man, that's 7 days before my birthday. I might actually have to put that on my pull list just because, you know? But whatever. That's besides the point. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the questionnaire. Episode, I don't know. I've lost track. We've been dropping them like crazy. I hope y'all are... Excuse me. I hope y'all are... Yeah, it's something. I hope y'all are enjoying the quest that we're on. Remember, comics are for everyone, right? So like, subscribe, hit that bell or whatever other thing you hit if you're on Audible or Amazon or Spotify, whatever. I know it's not a bell, it's something else. But
email your local senator to get us funding.
I am the Unknown Factor.
And I am Jay D-Day Hardaway.
This has been Andrew Thomas. Yeah. And it has been a pleasure. Make sure you click all the links in the description, too. There's going to be plenty. And have a good night, y'all.
Deuces.